Hey everyone, I wanted to do a quick tutorial for the simple rain system on how to get your emitters on a ground object when you have like faces that are facing downwards, or when you have objects that have like an inside where you don't want the rain actually hitting. So I'm going to do this quick tutorial on how to do that. First of all, we're going to go ahead and we're going to import, or not import, we're going to append the simple rain 1.1 to our scene. That's going to bring in a whole bunch of stuff. We don't need all of it. We don't need this Bezier circle, the camera, or the empty that come in with it. But as you can see right now, if we let this play a little bit, you're going to see at some point we're going to start getting splashes, inside of objects. They're not coming off the tops of these objects. It doesn't quite interact with our scene the way that we want it to. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete the current emitters, that 2D emitter, and then we also have this droplet emitter that we don't want to use. We'll also hide these guys because we don't need to see those, and we don't need to see the raindrop model that we're instancing for this. And we also don't need our water plane. So let's also turn off the rain just so it's not confusing. We don't need to see that right now. So right now we've got this plane. We're going to duplicate it and bring it up. We're going to try and add a whole bunch of geometry to this. So divide it like 40 times. It gives us, let's maybe do one more time. There we go. Now we've got quite a bit of vertices there. Now what we're going to do is, because of the current way the shrink wrap modifier is functioning in Blender, you can't blanket multiple things. You can only select one target, and that obviously doesn't work for what we want. So we need to make all of these objects one thing. So in your scene you can do this with the actual geometry, or you can copy it and do what I'm going to do. I'm going to join them. You could use proxy shapes. If you've got something that looks like a square, you could put a square on top of it. You can use whatever shapes you need to make this look a little bit more realistic in your scene. I'm going to use this. So they're all joined together now as one mesh. Control J. I'm going to move it back up to where it was. And let's name these so I don't lose track of them. Do that with F2. We'll call this one our shrink target. And we'll call this one our, for lack of a better term, we'll call it our blanket mesh right now. And let's move these out of our collision objects. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to tell this one that we want it to shrink wrap, and we want it to shrink wrap to that object we made where all those objects were combined, where they were joined. Now it's not quite mixing the way we want because it's using nearest surface point. We want to tell it that we want it to project. And right now we have to specify we want it to project on the z-axis, which is up and down. And right now it's doing positive, so it's looking up. We want it to do negative, so it's looking down. Now we're getting these weird ridges on the edge because it's kind of overlapping our shrink target just ever so slightly, so we can scale it down just a little bit and it will fit just the way it's supposed to. So now that we've got our blanket done and we've got everything's looking like it's mapping the way we want right on top, we can apply the shrink wrap modifier, and now we can get rid of that shrink target. You can keep it around if you need it in your scene for any reason, but once you've got this shrink wrapped, you don't really need it anymore. Now this would look good, except for the problem is we're going to start and have our drops coming off the sides here. And we don't want that necessarily, so we're going to come in here and we're going to select all these side faces that we don't want this rain to show up on. All these ones that are on the underside of Suzanne, there's no reason for them to be showing raindrops. Also here underneath the tree, none of this is going to be splashing rain because it's underneath the tree. And then we'll do the last thing over here on this cube over here. So now we only have geometry on the tops where raindrops would actually splash from our geometry. So now that we've got this, we can take and we can duplicate it, and let's go ahead and move this into our 2D splash emitter, rename it so we can keep track of it. It's called our 2D emitter, and we can put our geometry nodes 2D splash emitter on that one. And now, those are a little big. Let's maybe shrink them down. We'll make a lot of them. so we can see. Now you can see we're getting it on top of this tree, on top of Suzanne, on top of that cube. Our splashes are kind of showing up everywhere that they're supposed to be splashing. We can also take this blanket and let's move this into our droplet emitter, and we can rename this one our droplet emitter, just so we don't lose track of it. And same thing, we can put the geometry nodes on this guy for our droplet splash sim. Let's maybe turn this up so we can start and see it, and reset to frame 0. And now you can see that all of our droplets are coming off of where they're supposed to. They're not coming off of the inside, because rain, if it's falling straight down, wouldn't show up here. It's coming off of the top, it's coming off of the tree, it's coming off the top of Suzanne. So now things are just looking more the way they're supposed to. So that is kind of the quick tutorial on how to do that. It should be fairly simple kind of once you have this down. It might take some work. I'm sure there might be another option that's easier to select faces in here. I don't know if there's a select by type or select facing a certain axis. It would be nice if they had that. I'm not sure on that. But this is kind of the quick and dirty version of how you can set this up so that it's only falling where it would naturally fall if rain was coming from a certain direction. So I'll leave that tutorial with you. If you have any problems or questions, feel free to reach out. And I hope Simple Rain's working great for you. Thanks.